fourth lesson at data visualization. We're going to look at Scatterplots, which leverages the relationship between two variables in a coordinate plane. If you open that tutorial in your own Kaggle notebook, you'll get this view that you're seeing right here. So let's get started. The first line of code, once again, quite simple, just loading the main libraries that we've been using. The data set that we're going to look at today is a data set on insurance charges. It's a fake data set that was created to show how to do this type of analysis. We're going to try to understand why some customers pay more than others, just looking at the differences between theoretical insurance charges of different types of people. So we load the files. Once again, pretty straightforward. Let's take a look at the first 5 rows of that. You can see you have 7 columns here: age, sex, BMI, children, smoker, region, charges. And we're going to use a scatter plot here with this one line of code to show the comparison between, in this case, the first thing we'll look at is the BMI versus insurance charges. So on the x-axis, you have insurance data for BMI, and in y-axis, you have insurance data for charges. As you can see here, there seems to be some sort of relationship. In a scatter plot, you can see you're plotting 2 different numerical variables against each other, looking for that pattern. Here you can see a couple patterns or clusters of data. One cluster of data looks to be, sort of linear relationship. As the BMI of a person gets higher, the charges get higher. That isn't the case across the board. You can still see there's quite a few high BMIs here with lower charges, but there is a certain segment of this data set which does have that relationship, it seems. Here below it says these 2 variables can be considered positively correlated for a lot of the people. There's another Seaborn plot called the reg plot, which is a regression line plot, where we're doing the same thing, but there is, in this case also, you can see this line being regressed to sort of show this positive relationship. And the slope of this line is basically, theoretically, as your BMI gets higher, how much higher your charges will be. It's not perfect. There's ways that you could segment the data set possibly, so you could pull out some of the data that has a higher correlation and do the analysis once again, but this is something that you can see from this data set pretty quickly. You can also add another dimension to scatter plots using color. Here's an example of the same type of data set. Looks like you're also getting BMI versus charges, and you're color coding. You're using the hue attribute to color code whether the person is a smoker or not. Here you can see that for the people that are smokers, those are the cluster of people that have much higher charges according to their BMI, whereas people that don't smoke don't have such a high positive correlation. We can emphasize this fact using the LM plot. So the LM plot allows you to do the regression lines for doing BMI versus charges. Hue is equal to smoker, and it's creating a linear regression for both of these areas. So for both smoker and non-smoker. For smoker, the increase in insurance rates is much higher as the person is heavier, whereas non-smokers, it's a much flatter line. There is still a bit of a positive correlation there, but it's much lower in its slope. So here's a little bit of explanation of how that works and how these attributes are specified in the Seaborn plot. There's another plot called a swarm plot. A swarm plot allows you to kind of see this is a little bit of looking in the future of the distribution style plots, where you can see the difference between people who smoke and don't smoke in terms of the charges. And you can also see where each of these dots represents an entity. It's like a scatter plot that's kind of merged into the same type of functionality as a scatter plot in the form of a distribution. You can learn more about these scatter plots in future coding exercises for this particular section to solidify your knowledge if needed.